Welcome to the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for week ending December 15, 2012. Tourism Secretary Oswald Williams apprises the media of the tourist arrivals for 2012. But first, Health Secretary Claudia Groom-Duke gives an update on the transfer of patients to the Scarborough General Hospital.
As you know, on the 4th of April, we would have experienced the phased commissioning of the hospital, and that by the Ministry of Health and the Tobago House of Assembly as partners. And we were opened to outpatients. Of course, we had our lab service, our pharmaceutical services, pharmacy, and now we are taking our inpatients to the new hospital. And so this starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday, 15th December. We will be moving approximately 56 patients from the Scarborough Regional Hospital to the Scarborough General Hospital. So it is against this background that we are asking members of the public to be on the lookout for the convoys, since they will be running throughout the day. We are asking for our public to exercise caution and to respect the passing ambulances. And so we want you to think of it as your family members who are on the emergency vehicle. And after the exercise, the first patients will be spending the night at the hospital. And so let us not forget the hospital staff, because this will be their first official night shift for the inpatients at the new hospital. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all persons involved in this process and this exercise up to this point, and this includes our staff, the Division of Health and Social Services, the Tobago Regional Health Authority, the NIPDEC and the Ministry of Health, and of course the contractors, and most of all for this exercise, TEMA and the agencies. This would be fire, the police, and other agencies that are involved in disaster management in the Tobago scenario. And so with regard to the vesting of the hospital to the Tobago House of Assembly, we are yet to receive word from the Ministry of Health. So this is where we are at in terms of the transfer of inpatients from the Scarborough Regional Hospital to the Scarborough General Hospital.
First of all, let me just say that I'm very pleased to indicate to you that after what has been something of a long, hot summer for us in terms of international arrivals over the last couple of years, we have been facing decline year after year over the last couple of years in terms of international arrivals. And we are almost at the end of the year. I am pleased to say that the indication is at the end of November on a year-on-year basis for 2012. We have, I dare say that at this point that we have basically turned the corner, that decline in the international arrivals has stopped. We are actually at the end of November this year on year with last year, we are up. It's a very small 2.5%, but it is significant in the context of the fact that we were seeing negative changes over the last several years. And therefore, with only 1 month to complete the year, you know, we're very confident that we can end the year. We will end the year seeing that turnaround that we've been looking for some time. I'm very confident that this is in part, there's no one factor that could explain it, but I think that it is a reflection in significant measure of the efforts that we have been making in terms of our marketing of Tobago over the last couple of years, in terms of the fact that we have been doing much more marketing, in terms of the fact that we have been doing much more intensive marketing, that the fact that we have been using certainly a wider variety of strategies. We have been relying more and more on the technology in recent times to do that marketing in terms of the internet and the social media and other agencies. And therefore, I think we have seen some positive results from the efforts that we are making. I dare say, however, that the impact of what we have been doing in this regard is going to be limited by certainly other factors. I want to point, for example, to the fact that we have been seeking to have the room stock on the island upgraded for some time now, and we certainly, to the extent that this can happen quickly, it will certainly help the situation. If this doesn't happen quickly, we could well find ourselves marking time again, or perhaps even worse. So we look forward to our property owners in Tobago being able to access the programs that have been set in place by the central government in terms of the guarantees, the loan guarantees, and in terms of the funding for upgrades that have been in the pipeline for some time. We really hope that they can kick in quickly so that we can build on the momentum and see even better results in the future. A significant actor in this whole process, of course, is our Virgin Atlantic, which comes out of Gatwick to us here in Tobago. You would have heard in the media, we have been in the media very recently with respect to that flight, and you will be aware by now that the summer 2013 program of Virgin Atlantic has been withdrawn from Tobago. That is significant for us because on average Virgin could account for approximately 25% of our total international arrivals, give or take a little on that. It is very important to the destination in terms of its contribution, and it also is important in terms of the fact that a number of the high-end visitors who come to the island come via Virgin. A number of the hotels, the larger hotels, depend on that Virgin connection to ensure their well-being and certainly their survival. So it is important, and therefore we are, of course, concerned that we are going to lose it for this summer. There is possibly one little ray of hope in all that all will not be lost, in that one of the things that we are aware of is that Virgin continues to fly to the Caribbean, to Barbados and Grenada, not so far away. And one of the things that we have been discussing with our Virgin Holidays connections is the fact that for that summer where we have not got the flight to Tobago, we already have quite a significant amount of forward booking for that period, which we are told could be in the vicinity of 500 passengers or so. And one of the things that we are looking at as a possibility is to have those passengers come to Tobago via a connection from either Barbados or Grenada. If the connection can be arranged, then it is quite possible that we can see some of that traffic still coming to Tobago for this summer. We, at the Tobago House of Assembly, Division of Tourism and Transportation, we would have been in discussion with Caribbean Airlines for the longest while, seeking to have them give us some connection with Barbados, with Grenada, for starters, in terms of the whole program of Caribbean connectivity. And therefore, what we will seek to do in the weeks and months ahead is to impress upon Caribbean Airlines the need for that connection so that we can benefit from some of that traffic coming out of Gatwick via Virgin. Related to that issue, however, is a concern that has struck us. We would have been informed that the fact that Virgin has not renewed its commitment to Tobago for the summer has been as a result of some sort of negligence or otherwise on the part of the Tobago House of Assembly. The report has been circulated that we knew that this flight would have been pulled as early as the 5th of November 2011. This is false. I repeat, it is false. We became aware of the fact that this flight was on the threat of being withdrawn on Monday, the 26th of November 2011, when we received a call from London. At that time, we were given until the end of that very week, until Friday, the 30th of November, to make some representations in terms of putting a proposal on the table in order to make an effort to save the flight. So we became aware of the fact on Monday, and we were given until Friday of the same week. However, even then, we were not able to put a proposal on the table, because by the time the conversation resumed with Virgin Holidays on the Friday the 30th, the information that came then is that the flight has already been pulled and there's nothing we can do at that time. So we did not even have the opportunity to put a proposal in an effort to save the flight. So I'm saying the flight, the loss of the flight is in no way attributable to any action or lack of action on the part of the Tobago House of Assembly. I just want to say that, of course, the discussions continued after that because we still had to deal with what happens after the summer. That is, we had the winter of 2013 and beyond to treat with. What I can say at this point in time, there has been negotiations since then with respect to what we can do to ensure that the flight returns in the winter of 2013. And I am pleased to say that we very recently received word that for the winter 2013, that Virgin has agreed to give us 2 flights for the winter. And that is usually from about November to April. So that's 2013 going into 2014. So we have been able to get word that the flights will return on for the winter of 2014. Sorry, 2013, 2014. All right, and basically this is what the situation is with respect to that flight. I know that a lot of information, other information has been put on the table in terms of who can save the flight and who cannot, but this is basically what happened. We had a very, very narrow window, and as it turned out, we did not even have the window, because by the time we prepared the proposal to try to speak again on it on the Friday, the flight was already removed.
Mr. Williams, what exactly was Virgin Holidays' problem? What was their issue that they needed cleared up?
Virgin's issue is that they have been, and I put it in context, they have indicated that they have been, the numbers for them into the Caribbean has been declining in recent years. Not only for Tobago, for the entire Caribbean. Of course, we would have been way down on the list in terms of that decline, because you may be aware that they would have pulled flights from other areas. I'm sure some of you may have seen that they would have removed 2 flights from Barbados and taken to St. Lucia. They would have removed flights from other areas. So that it is in a response to what they saw as dwindling market share and losses. As a matter of fact, it is claimed that in terms of the summer flight that has been withdrawn, they would have saved, as a result of that action, they would have saved in the vicinity of £1.7 million. So it is basically an economic issue in terms of their bottom line.
Even with respect to the economic issue, so then why are they coming back on board in the winter of 2013?
All right. You may be aware that winter traffic tends to be heavier to this region, and well, out of the north, winter traffic into the tropical areas tends to be heavier normally every year.
So is it that they are pulling after the winter again, or?
We have not got that far. We are still negotiating. What we have been able to negotiate so far is the return of the flight for the winter next year. In terms of what happens beyond, it will depend on what we can put in place to ensure that the destination is attractive enough to maybe generate more traffic for the summer. But summer is usually a very challenging time.
Mrs. Groom-Duke, just one question. I don't know if you said it before. With respect to the Scarborough Regional Hospital, what is going to happen to that hospital now in terms of everyone moving to the new hospital?
Well, as you know, that there are some services that will remain at the Scarborough Regional Hospital. The oncology and all the oncology service will remain, and of course the pharmacy for that services and all services that we provide for the hospital, for the oncology unit. In addition, the rehabilitation complex that we have spoken about before in terms of the substance abuse treatment center, rehabilitation center, we are waiting with bated breath to have that started. Our center for our geriatric patients, our elderly, so our geriatric services, and of course our services for persons who live with severe disability to start with. The other areas are now being assessed structurally in terms of the purposes. And of course, you know that the sterilization and so on of those units and so on are taking place as we speak. As we remove the services, we do that. And so we await for the other services for the structural integrity of the rest of the hospital. The plan has been that we, in terms of the transition, because we are moving inpatients, but in terms of the whole hospital moving all the services and so on, that takes time.
Mr. Williams, in an article published in The Guardian today, the Minister of Tourism said that there was an overall lack of marketing support from the THA and an overall lack of cooperation between his ministry and the THA, and that probably one of the reasons for the pullout of Virgin. Is there anything you'd like to clarify?
All right, let me see. Yeah, let me see. That Virgin Atlantic has been coming to Tobago consistently since 2003. There has been never any call support from the central government with respect to that. The Tobago House of Assembly has managed that process for the last almost decade. What coordination and what cooperation the minister is speaking about, I'm not sure. It is an arrangement, it's a contractual arrangement between the Assembly and an airline, which has existed for the last 9 years, almost 10 years, and therefore I am not sure what the minister is talking about when he talks about contractual arrangements. The minister is talking about things that are not so in fact. He keeps trying to say that there was information available to us from the 5th of November that the flight was in jeopardy, and that is not so. And therefore, given the fact that he is starting off on a false premise, he obviously, there are things about the relationship that the minister does not understand.
You know, looking on at what has been happening in the tourism sector, sometimes you get the impression that the Assembly has been either lethargic or not proactive, reacting. You think, I mean, even as you explained to us the question of what happened between the call and not enough time to respond. I mean, how you describe your
not enough time, not an opportunity to respond.
Well, you know, I would like you to describe your style as Secretary for Tourism. What kind of style you have in terms of dealing with tourism?
Let me say something first before I answer that. To say that the tourism division or the Assembly has been lethargic is not true. Remember, sir, please, we have been, let me tell you some of the things that we have been doing. We have been actively pursuing other markets. We have been marketing heavily in Canada. We have been marketing heavily in Scandinavia, where we don't have a flight, where we are pursuing as well airlift out of these areas. In the meantime, we don't have airlift. We are seeking to see whether there is scope to have link up with areas from which we have airlift. For example, we are looking to see whether we can attract some more Scandinavian traffic via Germany, where the Condor flight comes, or via the UK, where the British and the Virgin and the Monarch comes. We have been marketing more in terms of spending much more on marketing. We have upped our marketing budget significantly over the last 2 years. We have been using a far greater variety of marketing strategies. to say that it is not fair to say that we have been lethargic or we have not been proactive. That's not true. We have been doing a number of things to broaden our scope. We have been doing things to improve our visibility, including the markets that we are in at the present. You have, sir, to deal with the context, understand what is happening in Europe. The European economies have been in recession for the longest while. The British economy is lethargic. The German economy, while it is not as bad as the others, it has not been growing significantly over the last several years. Since 2008, we have been fighting with markets that have been either in decline or stagnant. This is why we have been focusing beyond those borders. This is why we have started to increase our efforts in other markets. We have started to talk to persons in South America. So to say that we have been lethargic or that we have not been proactive, that is not true. We have not been shouting what we have been doing.
Thank you for watching the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council media briefing for week ending December 15, 2012. For the Department of Information, I am Sophie Guillaume.